So, starting from where we left off, create a new folder called Views. A view means the visual representation of your application. Move all your UIs into that folder. Now, create a Python module called Models. Models. We will move our model we created last time into this file. So open up the tutorial file and then find the model, scene graph model. Cut the entire code. Go back into the models file and paste it. And finally, create another module, call it data. Data. This module will contain all our node objects, basically our data. Go back into the tutorials file and then go to the top, cut the node, cut the transform node, the camera node, the light node, place it inside our data file, and then rename the tutorial file to controllers. The controllers are whatever that drives our application and the logic behind it that hooks everything together. It's the mastermind. So now we can start refactoring the code. Our project looks very clean and nice. We might also want to rename the icons RC to resources and import it here as resources. Done. You will not be able to run it just yet. We have to import our newly created modules. Import data and models in our controller file, like so. I also renamed our UI files. Camera properties got camera editor, properties got editors, light properties got light editor, node properties got node editor, transform properties got transform editor, and tutorial 06 got window. So let's rename these and also make sure that you include the directory when you're loading the UI. So views, window. And I'm gonna copy paste the rest because I've already done it. So views, editors, views, node editor, etc. And in our models file we need to import the PyQt4 stuff so we can actually inherit from it, and also all our nodes. And in our data file we see that the node class is actually inheriting from QObject. We haven't made use of this, so it's kinda pointless to inherit from it. So inherit from object instead. Let's try running this, and boom, we get the same thing as before. Nothing is broken, but with a lot better structured project. Now, in our model class, go to the data method. So go to our model class in the models file, go to the data method, and select everything from camera down to set Z or node Z, and then delete. Also, delete those. We're only left with display role or edit role. Delete the type info as well. In the decoration role, sorry, delete everything from camera up to type info. So we're left with decoration role, and we return an icon and change the string to resource. We haven't created this yet, but don't worry. And in our set data method, select everything from type info or including column if column is 0, delete all the way down to set z. Also remove type info. So we removed everything in display role. We removed almost everything in decoration role. We're only returning an icon here with an empty resource which we will create soon. And in the setData method we removed everything under edit role except the signal called data changed. Write this instead: self or node setData index column and value. So we take the column from the index, we pass it to a method called setData to our node. This hasn't been created yet, but don't worry, you'll understand what we're doing. And then we also pass the value. So our entire function got simplified to this: 2 lines. Here we write resource equals node resource, and then we return an icon with that resource. And finally up here we write node data index column return. So in the data method, if role is display role or edit role, we return node data, which isn't created yet, but we will, with the index column. So our node decides what to return depending on the column. And then in the decoration role, if it's column 0, we ask for this resource name, and then we create an icon and return it. So our data method got simplified into a few lines, and in the setData, which is even more simplified than our data method, we only have the setData method call. We pass the column and we pass the value, and then the node itself decides what to actually change. Save this now. Okay, head to our data file, and in our node class, when we add a new child, we actually forgot to set ourselves as the parent. So quickly fix that, or it might cause some trouble when we're actually dealing with drag and drop operations later, which we won't do it in this tutorial but on the future. And once that's fixed, remember that our model now uses a method called setData, a method called resource, and a method called data. Let's quickly create them. So def data, it takes a column. For now we just pass. Then we have setData, takes a column and a value, pass, and resource, which will return none for this class, but it will return something else on transform node. So it's basically a method we will override on the other classes. But let's start with the data method. As before, if column is 0, return name. Else if column is 1, return self type info. Let's add some spacing here, and the same thing goes on the data method or setData method. If column is 0, self name is value. If column is 1, since this is a readable data, we pass, we don't do anything, and I forgot to change it to else if. Okay, but there's a problem. Remember that the value we receive is a Q-variant. Q-variant is a value container that is used by Qt everywhere. The PyQt version has a method called toPyObject, like so. toPyObject. Calling that returns the Python object. So instead of setting a Q-variant to our name, which will cause troubles if we would try doing something with the name, such as writing it out to an XML file or serializing it to a MIME type, something we will cover when we deal with drag and drop operations. Anyway, we call toPyObject to get the Python object and store it, so this actually returns a Python string instead of using a Q-variant. finally, the resource method, which I already covered. We just return none for this class.